This podcast is sponsored by Sunnah Supplements, the first halal collagen brand in the world where they offer halal products like collagen and other things like multivitamins, biotin, probiotics, turmeric. We got to have that turmeric in our diet. Multiple different products, and it's all great if you're Muslim because they are halal.
With us, you can use It's Just Us discount code where you'll get 10% off all products. So all you'll have to write It's Just Us at checkout.
Nah, I'm not really feeling the clap anymore. Because I'm just there like... Okay. Okay. Cool. Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone, welcome back to the It's Just Us podcast. I hope you're all having a lovely day.
Welcome back.
We're just going to dive straight into it because...
Disclaimer first though.
Oh, right. Disclaimer.
This episode will be covering topics like grief and quite heavy topics that may touch home for a lot of you guys. So we just wanted to let you know that if you are going to listen to this pod, firstly, I hope and pray you're in a safe space. And also, I hope that this pod is helpful for you. Of course, if anything does seem too triggering, then please do, just take the right measures. We would never want you guys to ever feel like you're in a state where you feel uncomfortable. But for those who are, who want to stick around and who can stick around, then I hope you find it helpful.
Yeah. So obviously Ramadan is around the corner, which is really exciting because it's like the month where not only you try and connect with Allah, but you also try and connect with your family. So I'm sure as us girlies know, we're going to be in the kitchen, helping our mums out.
Yeah, we are.
And yeah, just basically working hard with family. But of course, not every household's going to be the exact same. Some households may miss significant figures. I know my household will be different to your household slightly, ever so slightly. But of course, your baba's not here. You lost your baba 2
Yeah, coming up to 3 years now.
Coming up to 3 years.
It was 2022.
Yeah. And of course, before 2022, your Ramadan looked very different to how it's looking now, basically.
Yeah, oh my God. It was like my dad. It was so weird because I was listening back to the grief episode. And the thing is, like, you'll never basically talk about that person enough. Like, you always feel like you missed parts of them or you don't do them justice enough.
Yeah.
And I felt like I kind of spoke a lot about what my dad meant to me, but I didn't really speak a lot about who he was. Do you know what I mean? Like his character or like what made him such an incredible man in itself. Do you know what I mean? Because he's obviously a dad to me, but he was a great figure to so many other people. He was a brother, he was a friend, he was a son, he was a community member, he was a Muslim. Do you know what I mean? He was a lot of things to a lot of people, and like Ramadan was that time of year where my dad was always a lively figure. Like I feel like he's the reason why all of us kids have so much energy.
Was he waking you guys up for school every morning?
Yeah. Like, even when he was sick, so he had cancer for 10 months. So it was so sad because that was the first ever time in his life and the first ever time in my life where I didn't see my dad observe Ramadan because he couldn't, because obviously he had to have his chemo tablets and things.
Yeah.
But he still woke up for Sehri. He still woke up for suhoor because he just, and if he didn't, he'd wake us up. Even sometimes be like, Baba, that time of the month. Yeah. When did you wake up?
You need to wake me up, Baba.
Sorry. Like, okay.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
But yeah, like before he got sick, Ramadan was amazing. Like it was so weird, but like he loved Ramadan. Like as in, obviously he done the basics of like going to the mosque and stuff.
Yeah.
But like there was always, it sounds so little, right? But he always got fresh fruit every single day. Like there was new fruit every day. Like he would always have watermelon, pineapple, mangoes. Because obviously a couple years ago, it's not really mango season right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether we're gonna get mangoes this year like we usually do. But like my dad would have a fresh box of mangoes every single time.
When Ramadan was in the summer.
Yeah.
So it was.
Do you know what I mean? Like yeah. And that was the vibe. The Ramadan that were like iftars at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
The exam season Ramadan.
Yeah. Do you miss that? The longer periods of fasting.
You know what? Obviously that seemed like 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah, I do. Our house renovated. We renovated our house, after COVID. So like even like growing up, there was always like a conservatory where like our dining table was.
Yeah.
So like Ramadan, and probably for a lot of people who can relate, like it's the only time of year where everyone in the family actually sits down and eats together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone had to
100%.
eat dinner at the same time. Everyone actually prepared dinner.
Yeah.
Everyone comes together. Everyone talks a little bit.
Yeah.
Other than azan time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I say that because my mum, she actually like, she would give you death stares if you literally even utter anything in azan time,
Yeah.
which makes sense, obviously.
That was a new
But,
thing
like,
for me. Like
really,
when in the household, we
Yeah.
just used to speak. And then when my sister got married, my brother-in-law moved in with us for a bit. And he told us that you don't speak during Adhan time. And
Yeah.
mashallah, like their kids now, my nephews, when
they
they
stop
come,
crying.
Bro,
During
no,
Adhan.
now they're educated. And they like sometimes I'll like say something and my 7-year-old nephew will be like, Ayesha khala, Adhan time. And like even he'll humble me. Do you know what I mean? So
But yeah, so every other time, other than that time,
yeah.
it would be like a time where like we'd actually debrief as a family. Like we'd just ask like, how's everyone's days gone?
Yeah,
What are we doing?
yeah.
And you know what? Because my dad was a cab driver, right?
Mm.
So he literally had to, I don't know how he did it, but like obviously he still went to Rari, he still obviously prayed, but then he used to still do a night shift in cab between
of course.
iftar to
Yeah.
suhoor.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he would
yeah.
come back just at suhoor time,
Mm.
just to eat, and then he would go sleep, and then he would do his whole day again.
So he was more of a night shifter.
You had to, because he was like, he worked in Uber, then he also worked in Addison Lee.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't know how he did it, but and he used to do 20 rakats, you know, he never used to do anything sore.
Mashallah.
So like,
Yeah, I mean,
it was, I mean, so yeah, like obviously there was always these memories of like my dad coming, he never missed a suhoor, he always came home. And it was so weird. And same with iftar. And you know what, my dad, even though my mum made the iftar, he always cleaned the dishes. Like as in, even when my mum pissed him off, yeah, he was like, give me the plate now, I need to wash it.
Yeah.
Your mum's annoying me, but I'm gonna wash the plate.
But you know what? That's
You know?
really nice to hear that even in the generation above us, the duties were almost kind of
Oh,
equal when
yeah.
it came to household chores, because it's
Oh, for
such
sure.
like also that stereotype of like the older generation thinking that men should go out to work and women should just stay at home.
And
Your
do the
parents were a set an example of
Yeah.
that. Your parents actually set an example that, you know, the man can actually help out with household chores.
100%. My dad, yeah. Oh my God. Every time he'd hoover the house, he'd like, can you guys just put tail in your hair for once? Like, why the hair everywhere? You know what I mean? And like, but he knew that because he used to hoover the house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knew. Like,
That's
this is
so
it.
funny. He was like, your hair
Like,
needs help.
Literally, he was like,
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
oil
put the
ASAP,
oil
bro.
hair. I'm gonna put oil on your hair myself if you don't sort it out. But like, yeah, so like, he was so proactive. And I think even in Ramadan, the fact that he would obviously still be working, still be going to the mosque, but he'd always, before, he used to have to always make sure that he washed the plates and everything and cleaned up. Like my mum never cleaned up afterwards for iftar. So he'd clean everything and then he'd make sure he had enough time to go to the mosque as well. And it was so weird because then like, it's now going to be my third Ramadan without my dad. And you know what? It doesn't get easier. It really doesn't. I feel like it's so sad because everyone's so excited for Ramadan. But I think for those who are missing somebody in their lives or can actually physically see a missing seat at the table, like you kind of dread it. Because and I think it's crazy because like some people, their hearts feel heaviest leading up to Ramadan. Like as in, it's so heavy that like, it's almost like you're going back to Allah with nothing else but an aching heart. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not going with, sometimes, obviously everyone's going with sins and stuff, but like you're going in like literally like you're crawling, like as in, and you know what? I think it's because like a lot of other holidays in the calendar, but Ramadan's one of those ones where like, you know, you're constantly reminded that, you know, your du'as are getting answered, and you're constantly reminded that, you know, especially as a child who's lost a parent, no matter how old you are, you're obviously now, especially if it's your father, you're actually deemed an orphan. And you kind of
So I
realize,
repeat that during Ramadan, you're deemed as an orphan.
no, not in Ramadan. I think in general, like if you've lost a parent and
Yeah.
it's your father, you're actually deemed an orphan. That's what people say. So it's like, you know, in Ramadan, every dua you make as an orphan, every dua you make as a sadaqah jariyah to your parents, like every act of charity you do as a sadaqah jariyah for your parents, like you just feel this immense, like Allah gives you so much comfort, but you still feel so heavy. Like in there, it doesn't alleviate the pain, but it's almost like, you know, sometimes like, you know, when people almost like cry when they're finally getting heard.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, sometimes like if like you talk to a therapist And you can't help but completely like break down in tears because that therapist is actually kind of like telling you, this is how you feel. Like, this is how you, like, I'm finally seeing you, so I'm going to crumble right in front of you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? 'Cause you can finally let your guard down.
Do you feel like a little bit I'm not saying a little bit, sorry, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but do you feel slightly more connected to your baba during Ramadan because you know that your du'as are being answered? Because you know when you make du'a on like a regular basis, daily,
you don't have that guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Or like
but with Ramadan, you just know.
Yeah. It's almost like that unwavering faith, right?
Yeah.
I do. And to be fair, like I also find like I make dua over like the small things about my dad that I remember rather than just the thing that's gone. Like, for example, like I really like, I think to myself, like Ramadan's an example, right, of my dad being able to go out literally after Tarawih, work until suhoor time. Sometimes, you know, he'd go back up to work after suhoor if he hadn't made enough money. And like he kind of taught me from a very young age, like, and you know, I say that he did taught me from a very young age. Like, obviously, I thought that when I see him, but like when he had cancer for 10 months, obviously, then he kind of started telling me more about like just him. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Asian dads, like, they have such a story, or just immigrant dads.
They really do.
And you never know their full story. They don't tell you things unless you ask them. And even then, you just feel so shocked. You're like, there's more to the plot. Like, how did you learn? How did you experience so much life? And I remember like one time when he was quite sick, he must have said to me, he was like, there was a night where, because he was a cab driver, right? So he, like, Friday nights were always the time when he'd get the most money from, like, you know, the ones that do like the Friday night clubbing, all that kind of stuff. So he used to always obviously get much money. But there was one night where, like, he told me, like, he was parked outside Mayfair for 3 hours because he knew he had to give us lunch money on Monday, and it was Sunday. And he was like, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to give you your lunch money. So I waited until for 3 hours outside Mayfair, and then I finally got a job, and it was a really well paying job because obviously they tip the cab drivers, right? And then he finally came home like just before we woke up.
Yeah.
And like I can literally say with my entire chest, like, I never, ever, ever, alhamdulillah, went without because of my dad. Like, I never, ever had to worry on a Monday morning that I didn't have lunch money. And it wasn't like the lunch money, it wasn't like 20 quid, it was like 15, 10 pounds, but that was enough. Do you know what I mean? But like, he always done that. And I never knew how did Baba have that money. And I realized that there were some nights where like he actually, like there were some nights where he was literally outside in his car by himself, like in the early hours of the night, just because
for someone to like
because he needs to feed his kids.
Yeah.
He needs to get like money to give to his kids every Monday.
You won't ever acknowledge or realize that when you're younger.
No.
Because obviously you're kind of in your own bubble and you don't actually appreciate what your parents do until you actually mature. You grow up and you realize, wow, because you're kind of experiencing like the financial burden of life, the burden of everything. So as soon as you experience it, you think
100%.
If I'm experiencing this now, then obviously my parents experience.
And imagine having children. Imagine having the fact that you're not even trying to like just fund for yourself. You're funding for your kids. Like,
exactly.
And it's the kids that you actually have, like, you got mouths to feed. You got bills to pay. Like, your kids need to go to school. They need to have like lunch money. And like, I always wonder, like, how did my dad do it? But that night, it really stuck with me, and then like, kind of brought me to tears a little bit because I was like, oh my God, like, I never knew how much it took Baba to just give £15 to all 3 of his kids.
Yeah.
Like, people spend £45 like that, and like, my dad was parked up in a car in Mayfair, like picking up people who came from like lives that they would never understand what my dad's life was like. Do you know what I mean? And to them, it was like, oh, I'm just tipping a guy who had like quite a couple bands on them. He had good character. He was chatty. So let me just tip him, and that was what fed us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
100%.
And like, this is why, like, I know, like, in this generation, we, like, sometimes, you know, you sometimes see those videos online of, like, you know, people cussing out their Uber drivers or coming, like, I could never, just because of the fact that, like, one of those drivers was my dad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But your dad looked like he had so much character too.
No, he did.
And when an Uber driver or a taxi driver or anyone...
Oh, yeah, sometimes I don't have that.
And to be honest, when I speak to, like, the Uber drivers that are very friendly and nice and they have a good chat, I really think, like, wow, like, you need to have really good people skills to have a job like that.
Oh my God, my dad's people skills were elite.
Yeah, and it shows like their character and what they're like back home. Obviously, it's great to obviously treat them with respect as well, because all they're doing is working. They're just trying to get their money in and that's it. So I think, and then you really like empathize with them, especially in your situation. You had your Baba was,
Yeah, he was a
driving all
driver.
sorts of cabs.
He was a driver for like 14 years. So like he done Uber, he done Bolt, he done Addison
Did
Lee.
he do anything before?
Yeah, he had a restaurant. And then went downhill though. But
he went through his entrepreneurial.
You know what
journey.
it is? Like a lot of Bangladeshi dads do that. And to be fair, some of them do really well, alhamdulillah. And it does go like, and you know, I feel like my dad, bless him, like he always kept his family at the center of everything. He always just wanted to do better with his family. Like he actually came to Germany before he came to the UK.
Really?
Yeah, he lived in Germany for like a couple of years. So he left Bangladesh at 18. So he was alone. He used to always have this line, was so funny. He was like, I was 18 and alone in the world. But he was actually 18, left his family at 18 and then literally started.
Was this before he got married?
My dad got married at 37, 36.
Okay.
So he had a whole life. Yeah. He had a whole life.
How long was he in Germany for?
Years, man. Probably just under 10 years,
Did your
maybe.
dad know German?
Yeah.
Damn.
German.
Oh, that's sick.
So that guy,
I love that.
he was, and you know what? He actually also rough slept as well quite a bit in Germany. So he
did what?
Like rough sleeping. So he slept on a couple train stations sometimes.
Oh, wow.
But he still had money to give to his parents and his family back home.
Amazing.
And it's so funny because like, I always think to myself, like, he was actually, there were so many things that made me realize now, like, how did my dad get up in the morning? Do you know what I mean? Like, life really, really hit him differently. Like, as in, he never saw he wasn't around to see his mum pass away. He wasn't around to see his dad pass away. His kids were born. Neither of his parents were alive to see me born. His mum was alive when my brother was born 2 years ago, but neither of his parents were alive. He got married. Neither of his parents came to his wedding because they were in Bangladesh. They didn't get visas. Like, he got married in a week. Like, there were so many things about my dad's life. I always think to myself, like, and yet you made every single person feel important.
Yeah.
Like, you made every single person feel like they were your best friend. How?
Yeah.
How did you do that? How did you make every child who maybe didn't have affection from their own parents feel so loved and so seen? Like, he used to literally take my brother's friends to football. Do you know what I mean? They used to all go football together. They used to all watch like the games with my dad.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these guys didn't have those relationships with their dad. Their dads weren't around.
Yeah.
You know, whereas my dad was like, he always used to like make his most biggest prize just being a dad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was so funny because like there was this one when he passed away, one of his friends who was actually 20 years younger than him, he was like an uncle, probably in his 40s. So my dad died at 60, right? And he came to our house and he was like, oh, like, you know, I knew your dad back in Desh days. Like, as in, I knew your dad back in when we were both back home.
Really?
And he was like, yeah. And then they used to live in like the same district, like, you know, the same little neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then he was talking to my brother and my sister and he was saying, you know, your dad, like, he was proper crying, like a grown man was crying. And he was saying, you know, your dad, he was the only man, well, boy at the time, who used to let me ride his motorcycle so that I didn't have to feel left out with the other boys.
Aww.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like, you just don't get kindness like that.
Yeah, you really don't.
And he's
really
like a 40-year-old man. So this is like, what, like, he said to me, like,
back in the Desh days. So
yeah, so this was like 10, 12. And my dad was like 18. So he was a bit older, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, he was like, I still remember your dad for that. That was the kind of man your dad was.
Yeah.
Like, even at young, he used to let me ride his motorcycle so I never felt left out because I was poor and I couldn't afford it and I still wanted to play with the boys. And I feel like this is the kind of character that like I'm so honoured to call my dad. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was that kind of friend to people, you know, and he saw people and like even like there was little things that he did. So the last Ramadan that he had with us, he was actually quite well. He got sick with COVID just after that Ramadan, but he was able to actually still be at home. He was obviously he had like, you know, chemo and stuff, so that made him really weak. But he still was obviously observing Ramadan and whatever. Yeah. But then after Ramadan, he got COVID, and then he died like 2 months after Ramadan, right? And when he got COVID, he was sick in hospital, and then I remember it was like probably 2 weeks before he died. He obviously was really sick in hospital at that point. Family members are coming around. I had like a lot of family in Birmingham at the time. Like I'm talking to like 20 plus people from Birmingham that live with us.
Is that because of your brother being in Birmingham?
Brother being in Birmingham, my mum's family, like my mum's cousins are all in Birmingham as well, like first cousins, second cousins and stuff. And they all came to see my dad. And then my dad was, when I tell you Ayesha, he couldn't even talk properly. Like his speech was very slurred. His voice was very croaky at the time because obviously he was really sick. He had lost like over 10 kg in like weeks, right? And then he must have said to me, he was like, "Oh, Imaani, make sure you get them all food. Like you need to feed them before they leave for Birmingham." And I was like, "Yeah, of course." I was like, "No, you need to make sure that you get them actual food. Like they're not just having tea and coffee. They need to have like, they've come all this way to see me." So then we all went back home and he was by himself in the hospital. And then like, we obviously bought Turkish food. And then like, I picked up the food from the restaurant and the guy, I always remember he was like, "So like, what's the party?" And like, it was so weird because I was thinking to myself like, again, people would normally, like, people, like, when it comes to putting on dawats and gatherings, people do the most, right? People get all the food. Literally, when we got home, my dad did that. Yeah. Like, my dad was all by himself in the hospital bed.
Yeah.
And we all came back home and everyone was eating the food that he gave him. And, like, it really resonated with me because I was thinking to myself, I was like, this man is all by himself now in a hospital bed with an oxygen mask. And, like, he's just fed people he loves.
Yeah.
Even though he's not even there to even physically enjoy it with them, laugh with them. But he did that just because that was his way of showing love. Do you know what I mean? That was his way of showing his appreciation for people to have even traveled that far to see him. Like, he never thought of himself as something special. Even though I think he knew deep down he was, like, he didn't need to say that to people because people said that to him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people made him, like, know him for who he, and like I said, like, my dad never had a flashy job. He never had, like, generational wealth to give us. He never had, like, a fancy car. Do you know what I mean? Like,
he did that from his own hard work, basically.
Yeah. And sometimes I do feel really sad at life because, like, his dream was just to drive a Range Rover. And even then, like, he never got that dream. Like, he obviously, like, he got really sick and that's the only reason why he stopped working and he had to give up a car. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we only had a family car because he worked as a driver.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, these are, like, and like, I always thought to myself, like, it was really sad because I remember, like, the last couple of conversations we had, he used to always, like, apologize to me, like, "Oh, like, I'm sorry I couldn't give you everything." But he gave me, like, everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, well, okay. But, like, he actually gave me, like, more than I think a lot of people in this world have ever been given. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like in life, we don't always have the opportunity to even, I guess, like, feel as deeply as, like, some people do because, we have been stripped away from that, from, like, our first versions of love. Like, a lot of people really struggle with their parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people really struggle to emotionally connect with their parents, especially if, let's say, for example, you come from an immigrant household and they weren't even shown love themselves. Do you know what I mean? But, like, it's so deep that my dad's love for me ran so deep. Like, I can't help and pray sincerely for his parents, even though I never met them, because I'm like, you showed my dad so much love.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Like, you showed my dad so much love, like, as in my mom's dad and my mom's, my dad's mom and dad. Like, I give so much dua to my dad during Ramadan now, because I'm like, it's because of you that Baba was so loving. Yeah. Like, it's because of you that, like, even though he left the country at 18, he had so much capacity to still love and build friendships and smile and joke,
Yeah.
And, like, I remember, like, every Ramadan, like, because obviously, like, bless him, like, he obviously struggled to recite Quran, but he probably must have got more reward for doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Intention in the end.
But, like, I would remember, like, every single Ramadan, like, he'd always spare a dua for his mum. Like, he'd always say, like, and you see a grown man crying. Like, my dad was a very strong alpha male, but he was very emotionally there as well. And he used to be like, he'd cry for him. Even his last ever thing that he said before he died was "Ma." Like, he said the dua and then, like, the shahada, and then he said "Ma," and then he passed. And, like, I always think to myself, like, if he went through 60 years of his life, and, like, 20 years nearly was without not even 20 actually, 23, because my grandma passed away like 3 months before I was born. So 22, 23 years without his mum. And every one of those years he had to pray for his mum. I'm probably going to spend 23 odd years praying for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably going to have those moments where I'm going to break down in front of my kids one day. And I'm going to say to him, like, if you think that the reason why your mum, and then me, like, loves you so much and has such a big heart is because my dad. Like, that's what he done to me. And, like, I always think as well, like, there were so many stories about him. And I do feel like people need to know this about people in the world, because I think if someone listens to this, they'll actually realise that there's actually been human beings on this earth that are such kind individuals that you should actually believe in goodness in people still. Do you know what I mean?
Instead of completely giving up with humanity.
Don't give up on humanity. Like, because there's someone like my dad who walked on this earth, had an impact, didn't have much money to his name, but he was one of the richest men ever. Like, one of my uni friends, she came to my dad's funeral and she was like, so you're telling me only 5 people out of like these 300, 400 people that have come to Janaza, only 5 people were his relatives? I was like, yeah. And she was like, that's crazy. I've never seen a Janaza like this in my life. And she was like, your dad is one of the richest men I've known. And she still says it today, 3 years on. Because like, to be remembered at the moment of death and to be remembered even after you've gone, that means that you must have been such a special person to someone. You don't even have to be around.
Was big. He had such a big impact. And they say that obviously wealth within Islam isn't from material things. It's from the way that you treat others, basically. It's your sincerity. It's the way you carry yourself. I think what's so beautiful about this is that he's had, throughout this whole journey from start to finish and during Ramadan, like, he always had faith in basically Allah and basically his journey. Like, he accepted that, you know, whenever his time would come, it would come because that is Allah's plan. And it sounds like he never for a second doubted the plan.
No, he 100%, like, even like, you know, in the movies, in the movies, when you have like those cancer movies where like you have the doctor kind of tell you how much time you have left. I'm not gonna lie, you still get that in like in real life, and we did have that, but it was so crazy because like I actually remember these moments for the rest of my life. Like, I remember the doctor must have said to my dad, like, oh, do you want to know about my dad? Do you want to know about time? And my dad was like, no, I'll go when Allah takes me. So again, it's that like constant acceptance that like he loved his life to the very second. He never gave up on it. He could have, but he never did. But he at the same time was almost like, he knows that like it's Allah's will. He knows that like, and he literally like, I know people say like, you know, after, you know, you do a ghusl, so after you shower and you clean the dead body, like a lot of times, you know, the person is glowing and it's good because that's obviously the nur in their face, the light in their face, right? My dad was smiling, bro. He was smiling and he had such a beautiful light to him. And like, I'm not gonna lie, he didn't even look dead. Like, he didn't even look dead. Like, he actually was glowing and like his lips were all pink, and it's very weird because he had vitiligo, but he had pink lips and he was smiling, and it was just like, I've never seen such beautiful, like such a beautiful face, you know, like. And obviously he lost so much weight because during his cancer, especially at the last stages, like he literally looked gaunt, like he looked like a skeleton at one point. But then after his ghusl, like after we just before we buried him and we were able to have one final look, like it was like all of that came back. Like it was almost like he wasn't never ill. And it's like,
because he returned, essentially he was in the process of being returned back to his creator. You're returned the same way that Allah basically puts you into this life, the way he
exactly. And you know what, like apparently Omar Suleiman's series this year is about the Bozak. And
between live and dead,
and I can't wait to actually listen to it, because I'll be honest with you, I have been, from the very day he's passed, I have been like, I always think about death now. And it doesn't, like, it does obviously scare me because I never know when I'm ready, but like I always wonder, like, I'm gonna see Baba again, hopefully. Like, but what is Baba doing? Like, is he okay? Like, and I know he's okay because he died in the most blessed way. But it's almost like, I always wonder, like, he literally, like, very, like, when we were literally teenagers, he used to be like, oh, like, I can't wait for your kids to come because I'm gonna look after your kids. I want you to give me your kids all the time. Like, he wanted to literally be the kids' nanny. Like, and like, again, like, how many grandparents, like fathers, do you know would literally like talk to their kids about their grandkids straight away? Or like say how like he would talk to us when me, like I was like 19, 20, 21, and my dad would always be like, oh, like when Imaani gets married, this is what I'm going to be like on her wedding day, or like when Imaani gets married, like this is how I'm going to handshake her husband. And like
I bet he described it to me the most aggressive handshake ever.
Oh, 100%. My dad was a gym lad. Like, he was a kind guy, but he was a gym lad. Like he was benching, like he was squatting. You know?
Yeah.
Like, and
this proves that obviously Allah, it doesn't matter how healthy you think you are, you just don't know.
Yeah, his life changed literally within a week, Ash. He got diagnosed with stage 2 on like a Monday, and he started bleeding a lot. And when he went to the bathroom, and then literally by the end of the week, he was diagnosed with stage 4. Like, it was a very rapid process. And it was almost like Allah, obviously everyone has different ways that, you know, I've been comforted, you know, like some people say to me, it's a good thing that, you know, it happened very quickly because he didn't suffer for too long. Because again, like my heart goes out to people who, like, maybe in Ramadan especially, you might have someone who's sick at home. You might have somebody who isn't able to pray. You might have somebody who hasn't got the capacity to even really like observe Ramadan in the right way because, you know, they could be struggling. You might have somebody in your house that may have, you know, struggled with their mental health, for example. All of these things, like, it makes Ramadan a very blessed month, but it also makes someone's heart feel so exposed, you know?
Are you ready mentally for this year? Like, how do you feel right now?
You know what? It's so weird you say this because obviously, like, you would think that I don't even have any time to think about Ramadan, like my own Ramadan, if that makes sense, because of like the guide and the gala. But I would be lying to you, like, every single night, like, I know obviously like the countdown to Ramadan as well, like we are obviously advised to start thinking about Ramadan more as you get closer to it, like start you know, setting your
prepare
intention.
like at least a month before.
Do you know what? Yeah, that's what people
Ramadan
say.
is easy.
Yeah. People always say that, so it doesn't hit you like, you know, a truck kind of thing. I feel like for me, it just always feels so heavy. Like I think the first Ramadan I had was really hard without my dad because my grandma was also really sick. So it's almost like 10 months after, because she died 10 months after my dad died, which is my mum's mum. And she's my only living grandparent. So like that first Ramadan, my sister had A-levels, so she was actually blessed in the library breaking her fast. And my mum was in the hospital with her sister and her mum. So I actually spent a whole Ramadan, like majority of my Ramadan was spent by myself. Like I used to be so extra, guys. I used to like put candles on and like just have my salmon and rice, whatever I could cook. And I really felt my dad absent because it was the little things like no one's washing the dishes other than us, like but no one's bringing fresh fruit. Like again, it's one of those ones where I realized like the way my household is set up, it's just my mum, my aunt and me now because my siblings are in different cities. So it's like, if anyone wants fresh fruit, I'm going to have to get the fresh fruit.
But I think because you carry your bubble so proudly with you within a healthy state, within your day-to-day life, I see you being the person in your brand new family, inshallah, with your husband, with your kids, bringing the fruit. I see you the one bringing the fruit. Do you know what I mean?
So.
And inshallah, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to carry
inshallah.
your... I don't know if legacy is the right word, but the things that dad
it is
did
a legacy. Yeah.
within Ramadan, you will continue on, and you can continue that this year. So even though he's not physically here, spiritually and mentally he is here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So inshallah, like when it comes to, you know, the Ramadan starts in a week, like bring the fruit home, wash the dishes after, carry him within you throughout the whole month, so that, you know, even though he's physically not there in the house, he's in your heart. And I know he's always in your heart, but you'll feel it more during Ramadan, you know?
And you know what? Like, I also feel that you're so right with everything you're saying, because there are certain things where the physical thing that I can definitely implement, and I will, to be fair, because that's the way of me feeling like, and it's almost like I've been obsessed with this concept, right? Of the idea that like, I don't want things to die with him. So those things like that would be definitely things that I would love to implement.
Let me just tell you now, it will never. I promise you, as your sister, as your friend, as your podcast co-host, as whatever, I promise you, it will never die. Because as long as you live, and as long as your family live, and as long as your friends live, we will never let that happen. Like, because I never met your dad, yet he's got a place in my heart, and I feel some level of connection through you.
Yeah.
It's like when I see a picture of him or like a video of him, I feel like I've already met him. I feel like
that's crazy as well, because you sometimes never know. You can't always judge a person straight from like a picture, right?
Yeah. But weirdly, like I remember you saying you spoke to me about the concept of invisible string a while ago.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I have that with your brother? I somehow I knew him at some point, or I don't know. It's just such a weird connection that I have with him. And it's the same with I've got a best friend who also lost her baba a couple years ago as well. And subhanAllah, I've got two of my best friends going through the exact same thing at the exact same time. But like I never met her dad either. Yeah, I feel like I knew him and I felt a connection with him.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is that
thank you.
This worry that you have, like, I'll guarantee you, as long as I live and as long as your friends live, like, as long as we live, we will ensure that his legacy will continue. And it will naturally be there and continue throughout all your projects, throughout all your aims, goals, marathon, gym girl guide. Like, yes, it's going to a specific cause, but you can also have the intention of with that cause in your baba's name.
Oh yeah, like everything. He taught me community, you know. He taught me community differently. Like because I literally remember like when I would go wash my car, like the Albanian uncle literally like, you know, your dad used to give me banana every iftar. Literally in Ramadan, like my dad used to literally give him a banana.
Giving, bro. Like,
do you know what I mean? And like. That's what I'm saying. A banana cost like 80p, but that made someone remember my dad.
Yeah, it made someone's day.
You know, and like
by doing that.
I remember like last year, like, and I'm not saying this to obviously reveal deeds or whatever, but like I remember like I was really feeling my dad absent, and like the mosque that he actually helped to open up, one of my really good friends, like he was able to get his dad to basically give dates out, and we just left a note to be like, if you have a date today, just remember like Yahya Bai, which is like obviously my surname, but like it's so weird, but it's like all you can ever ask for when someone goes is to literally keep them in your du'as. Like, that's the only thing that you can ever ask for. But like I always think to myself, like my dad used to always say to me, even when he was so sick in his hospital bed, he was like why are you crying? I'm here. Like he would say like Baba Asi in like in Bengali, which is like I'm always here, like I'm actually here. But you never know, like, do you know what I mean? Like you go through so much of your life and like so many new emotions, so many new characters, so many new opportunities and moments, and you're just like, are you gonna show up now?
Yeah.
Like you're saying you're here, like come on, like get me on, like and I think that's why, like, even though every moment that I do have in life, like, don't get me wrong, like I feel so fulfilled because there's always a why behind what I do.
Yeah.
There was always a why behind what I do, right? But I think at the same time, there's always going to be that cloud that I have because, like, imagine having such a driving force, like almost like a fire in your belly. That fire's not even yours, that's his. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so I'm saying like he's a part of you. Like,
yeah, I feel like I live with two people.
Yeah. You say this to me all the time. Like whenever you talk about your baba, you always say it in a way that you're speaking for yourself and for his behalf.
Yeah.
Because you carry him within you. And with honestly, whatever you do
like,
as well.
I know this sounds crazy because it sounds so crazy, but you know, like there's some people in life you'll meet, and sometimes it's just their smile that makes you actually smile back. Like, as in you're like, you have such a beautiful smile. Like, actually, like brightens your face. Do you know what I mean? That was my dad's smile. Like, he had such a beautiful smile, in the fact that like every time I think of him now, like I used to always, I just imagine him smiling at me. Like that's the only image I have.
Yeah.
And like someone once said to me at when I did my half marathon, she was like, oh, like just, even though it's really hard, just think of it like it's life, and Baba's already got to the finish line, and he's just waiting for you. So you need to just get to the finish line. So it doesn't matter how long it's going to take you. It doesn't matter how long or how many obstacles or how many, wrong turns you take. Like, he's going to be waiting for you at the end.
And you're going to see him very, very soon.
Yeah.
You will be reunited with him very, very soon. I think this is why Islam teaches us to have the sabr and the patience and the patience in life, to basically go through those hurdles that you're talking about in the marathon the trip overs and the wrong turns. Do those things, which is basically Allah's test to present you, okay, this is what we need to face with Baba, without Baba. Just face it, because that's your own separate journey. And then once you succeed those tests and you have the patience within you, inshallah, because like, it's really hard to say, but like, we're not going to be here forever. We're not going to be here forever. And like, I remember you saying that you were, you think about death all the time. Like I've not faced a death close to me. But like, I think about death a lot as well. And it's so scary. Like, you're not meant to be scared of death. You're meant to be scared of Allah. Like, you're meant to actually be like, as much as Allah is like your best friend, your creator, the one that you rely on, you're meant to be scared of him. So, but you need it's the thing where like, we're not going to be here forever, and you have to accept that. But like, you need to think of the positives from it and think that, you know, once you're there and you're finished with the dunya, you're essentially going to be in a better place, because you're either going to be reunited with your loved one, inshallah, if you do the world right. And if you do the right things, you'll be reunited. But then on top of that, you'll be with the person who loves you the most, which is your creator.
I know. And you know what? Like, I also feel like the reason why I think about death so much as well is because, like, you know, when you lose someone so close to you, you all automatically just think like, okay, like, there's actually something worth living for after this. It's them. It's seeing them again. Like, for you, I mean? Islam isn't just your purpose anymore. It's also a gateway for me to see my dad again. And like, it's
motivating you with life.
And you know what? It also is. It might be kind of hard to explain, right? It's also a bit morbid, but like, I sometimes get into the state of mind where, like, I know it's really hard to live like this, right? But like, even like with us, or like with anyone who I feel very deep love for, like, I always worry, like, oh, they might go next tomorrow. Or like, and I think that's why, like, I really, really, really care about like making sure that the people who I love know how much I love them. Or like know how much I appreciate them. How grateful I am for them. Because like, I genuinely, because I'm thinking, if God can take away the person who I love the most, then like, he can take away anyone who I love at any time he chooses. Like, he literally gave Baba cancer for 10 months, and he was just like, that's it, finished, gone. And my dad, before that, he was a healthy man. He was walking, he was talking, he was loving life. Like, he wanted to retire. He wanted to finally live life with my mum. Like, they struggled so much and they never got that. Do you know what I mean? And like, and I feel for my mum as well, because it's like, she's now like, she doesn't, obviously she's got her kids and stuff, but she hasn't got her partner anymore. You know? Like, she hasn't got someone to grow old with anymore. And again, like, I know Ramadan is going to hit hard for her. Because, you know.
Do you feel like an extra level of responsibility during Ramadan?
Oh, yeah,
because you feel like, obviously, you've got your sister, you've got your siblings, you've got your mum. As the older sibling, do you feel like this level of, not pressure, but another level of responsibility to have to take over?
It's so crazy, but sometimes I do even think, like, I don't want to show such intense sadness, because I know how sad everyone else is feeling. And like,
and I'm sure your family will be fine with you feeling that intense sadness.
Yeah, of course.
But it's just, but you, naturally, when your Baba passed, like, you felt immediately this level of responsibility that you had to do X, Y, and Z. So that's why I'm saying, like, with Ramadan coming, you're probably feeling very similar to that.
100%. Like, even like the fact that this Ramadan is obviously, for us, it's really exciting, because it's the first time we're doing an event. It's the first time we've, you know, well, second time, but like, you know, we've released a really great product. So social media, I'm probably going to look like I'm on cloud 9. I'm probably going to look like, you know, I'm just churning out content like a machine. But like, nobody knows how long, like, I sit and make dua. Like, nobody knows like how long it would probably take me just to, like, almost, you know, I think nobody really understands, like, sometimes like you just want to cry, or you just want to sit in sadness, but you kind of can't, because like, you've got to wipe your tears and get to work, like, or you're about to join a meeting, or you're about to join a call, or like, someone's messaging you because they need something from you, and like, you're just like, okay, yeah, fine.
I just don't, but also I just don't think anyone needs to know about that, because you can just share that with Allah. And that's the point of like, you know, sitting on your prayer mat at the end of your salah and just
there's a lot of things actually that you do
keep it intimate with you and your creator.
Sometimes you can't even articulate it, to be fair. Sometimes you can't even articulate pain. You just really heavily feel it.
Do you find it hard to open up on your page about this sometimes? Because I know you're very open about Baba, but I don't think you're this open. Obviously a podcast is a safe space.
No, you're right, because obviously I've really struggled with it, because sometimes I think like, should I just like cry in front of the camera? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what is a creative way to show grief? And then I'm thinking, it's really hard.
You don't have to be creative.
Yeah. No, it's
you don't have
true.
to be creative.
I think like it's so funny because I must have posted a video last year in Ramadan about grief, and it actually went really quite viral.
Yeah.
And
you were doing the inclined. I remember it so clearly. Well, I remember it so clearly because you showed me the video and you were like, Ayesha, does this text make sense?
Yeah,
and I was like, bro, it makes sense, but just post it because it's gonna help people, and it did.
And
so many people really well.
So many people shared it, and I think it's because like, everybody knows in Ramadan you're either grieving yourself or you know someone you love who's grieving, because that's why they always, you know, I never understood the line properly, but you know when they say you might not make it to another Ramadan, this is what they mean.
Yeah,
like this is what they mean, but like you might make it, but someone who you live right next to you might not make it, and that's so scary, right?
It's
like
scary.
That's probably the only time of the year as Muslims where we're like, oh my God, I crave to see another one.
Yeah.
Like the last day will come and you're sad because you're like, oh my God, I have to wait another year for it to come back.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm just like, my dad doesn't have any more Ramadans left in him.
Yeah.
Like my dad's Ramadans stopped 3 years ago. And I feel like I already know, you know what's so funny? Like even though we've been talking so much about the gala, and how excited I am, I feel like for me, that event is also a tribute to my dad, because like I said, like I learned about community because of him. Like I learned the real meaning of community. I learned the real meaning of making people who aren't even your family feel like your own. I learned everything about how to love because of him. So like even whether it's 100 people there at the day, whether it's 10 people there at the day, like people have shown up because of who we are as people. And I always think to myself, like, I can't ever emphasize like the janazah my dad had, like it was something where many people who have lived twice my age have never seen before. They've seen many janazah, and my dad, like he was the kind of man, right? He couldn't bury his own parents. So, you know, back in the day before they had like all the like, you know, the bulldozers to actually put in the soil, my dad used to hold the caskets for every person. He was able, even if it was a stranger or whether it was a family member, he held it because he was like, I couldn't bury my own parents. So he carried that through everything. Like he carried that even through the kindness of another stranger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you don't meet people like that these days.
You
don't know. And remember, he's not back home, by the way.
Yeah.
He would not have been able to articulate it even like through like a pod like this, like we did.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy because I still remember that the day he died, obviously I got loads of DMs. I just put on my story, right? And I was going through my DMs, and then I found one, and I'll think about it for the rest of my life. Like, she was this girl, and she was like to me, I know you don't know me, but I know your dad. And firstly, I'm so sorry. I don't have a dad, and I know how hard life is going to be for you now. And secondly, your dad actually helped me carry my bags one time to her car. And they were really heavy bags, and like she was saying to me, she was like, I really missed my dad that day, and your dad came in like as a stranger. And like I always think to myself, like, these kind of stories, like they're gonna stick with you for life, because she didn't need to tell me that. Like she didn't need to even like take the time to message me, but she did. And that's the kind of man my dad was. That's why I feel like there's certain human beings and individuals in this world, like, you have, I said this before, but you have to believe in goodness in this world, because people like that actually came into this world. They shared kindness, they showed compassion, they showed love, they showed unity. And like now they've left, but like they've left pieces of them through not just me, but everyone they met, you know? I have an uncle, he had vitiligo, and he randomly got it after COVID. And you know, he said to me after, was like, you know, your dad used to visit me all the time. And like, as a man, like, it's really hard to open up. And he said to me, like, your dad was the only person that was able to speak to me and make me feel like I was still good enough, and I was still the man I was, even though I went through that struggle of vitiligo where your skin completely discolors. Yeah. And he was like, even though I couldn't recognize myself, your dad helped me you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm thinking...
Did you say your dad had vitiligo?
He had vitiligo as well, so he understood my uncle's struggle. Around the lips, yeah. So he understood other people's struggles.
Yeah.
Like, he was so compassionate. Like, he didn't need... Even, like, the kids... Like, I had friends who fathers have either passed away or their parents were separated. He'd always ask for them. He'd always pray for them. He'd always say to me, he was like, you better not stop being friends with them. They need friends, they need love, they need belonging, because like some people aren't made to be parents. But he actually felt like he was made to be a parent.
Of course. It shows it.
Do you know what I mean?
It shows it with stories. You know when you posted it on your story?
Yeah.
Was it difficult to post that?
Yeah, because I never spoke about it. It was like a random... It was like
random.
It was so random. I never even spoke about my dad. I made one story about him when it was like Father's Day or something, and it was just him in his vest, like just flexing. And that was like way before he got ill. And then for 10 months, didn't ever post him. And then literally, randomly in a day in July, just put a black screen and just wrote in a Larajo, and my dad just passed away. And no one at that stage at all even knew my relationship with my dad. No one even... I could have not even had a good relationship with my dad. People would never know. I was never paying tribute. You know how like some openly talk about the relationship with their parents? I had none of that. So it's almost like people got to know even a side of my personal life I never showed before, but they didn't know how much of that life like really meant for me. When you got the flood of DMs, did you feel less alone, or was it just very overwhelming? You're on autopilot at that point. You don't even, not that they don't mean something to you, because like I said, clearly I still remember vividly a lot of the like messages I had, but at that point all you ask people to do is keep them in your du'as. But you mean it. You don't just say it like it's a copy and paste kind of vibe. It's not that at all. Like you genuinely, it's not you're pleading somebody to be like, please keep them in your du'as, please keep us in your du'as. Like I feel like I'm only standing today because of my dad's prayers and my mom's prayers. I don't think I could have stood by myself. I'll be so honest with you. I think I would have given up with life a very long time ago. Like, if... So what's one thing that's kept you going then, apart from the du'as? Because I'm sure that's not just the only thing that's kept you going. Honestly, Aish, keeping your Baba's legacy. Yeah, I think it's that. Like, genuinely, like, think about it. Everything I've done, like, this pod, the page, the events, you... you're my friend. Yeah. We wouldn't be friends if I stopped posting in 2022. Yeah. Because we only became friends in what, 2023, 2024? 2020. End of 2023. Yeah. Of 2024. So my dad died in 2022. Yeah. So if I made the decision in July 2022 to scrap the page, I can't do this anymore. I need to be alone. I need to just get rid of this. So I just get rid of this area of my life because I don't want to feel exposed anymore. I don't want to feel like I have a duty to the world anymore. I can't even have a duty to myself. Then none of that would happen. Well, you know how the grief is like you have like different stages and it can go in different directions. I think obviously what you're trying to say is that at the start of your grief, it was almost like give up. Oh, but then it came it's to... denial to sadness, Yeah. Now it's more... It is still acceptance. I still accept, like... Look... Grief hasn't got a time scale. You can grieve for a very long time, and that's fine. And the acceptance periods can be... It is the unspoken... It's the... what's it called? Unspoken love? I can't remember what... Unspoken love. Andrew Garfield said in his interview. I think it's either unspoken love or all the love that you weren't able to give them, which is why you grieve for them. Like it was like it's the idea that, you know, there's so much love left in you, which is why you grieve. Even if that person's not there anymore. You have to, like, grief is a form of love. Yeah, I feel like the love that you give me, give your family, give all your friends is essentially basically the love that your Baba gave to many people, and now that's why I feel like you carry him so well, because I feel like everything that you describe your Baba to be, you are. I hope so. You know, which is definitely the case. You know what it is as well? Sometimes I always think to myself, like, again, a bit of a morbid note, but, you know, I sometimes think, like, if I'm not here in the world no more, like, how many people, like, even remember me? But I hear it. I sometimes think that as well. Not that you should live to be remembered. It's not that, because I don't think my dad did that either. Exactly. I just think the way he led life, he couldn't help but be remembered. Do you know what I mean? It is curiosity. Like it crosses my mind as well. Like if I go tomorrow, who's actually going to care? Who's going to deep it? And the thing is, my dad used to always say to me, the whole world stops other than your kids' world. Yeah. He always said to me, he was like, everyone else's life will carry on. Everyone else's life will move on as they should. But your children, they will mourn for you. They will grieve. 3 days,
100%.
even though Islamically we say 3 days you should grieve and then you carry on. Obviously, I have carried on life. Clearly, I've gotten more people coming to my life. I've had all these opportunities. I've literally started a whole other career, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My dad saw none of that. He didn't even know I had dreams. He didn't even know about Honor Active. He didn't know about.
He'd probably like what's Wonder Actor? Active. Yeah.
But like, it was one of those ones where like he saw none of that. But I can't help but think that if I stop now, this again is the job is not done. The job isn't done. Like I feel like I haven't completed his legacy yet. I feel like I need to.
Mate, there's so much of his legacy to complete. Like you're in for a ride. Do you know what I mean? You're just at the start. You know, there's so much for you to actually experience and go through. And I don't really see an end to it until you've decided to. I don't know. Even when you're a mother, I still see the healthy sector. I still see it. I think until you're physically, literally, you can play on words. You know what I mean? Like you can work on that. All I'm saying is that it's going to take a while for you to get through a legacy because it's so big, so vast, and like Allahumma barik. I think one thing I'll say, like in our previous episode, don't remember what episode, when we spoke about you were on the panel and you spoke about who your role models are, etc. Like it don't necessarily has to be a female to be a role model. Like the Prophet Sallallahu is a role model, but also your dad is definitely a role model for sure. Because the way he was in life, that's how I want to be. I want to help others. I want to carry someone's bag. You know, I want to carry someone's shopping bag. I want to get up on the train for someone else to sit. You know,
that was one time that he did that. And how did a girl find? And like even like
what a coincidence.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Like,
and this is why I always think to myself, like my dad has left the standard for the person I want. Like the men who haven't even entered my life yet, but like the partner I want to be with, the son I want my son to be, the father that I want my son to be as well one day. Like my dad has almost left a blueprint for generations to come.
Yeah.
And like I always think to myself, like he was just too much of a good soul in this world to be forgotten, you know? And I think I would sometimes wonder like who inspired my dad. Like I always wonder like what I've never even seen a baby picture of my dad, bro. That's how much.
Is there one?
Bro, it's somewhere in Desh, man. I'm gonna have to go back home to find it.
Yeah. I think that honestly, between now and whenever, aim to learn more about your dad's family back home.
Yeah.
So go back, get to know them, speak to them, see the baby pictures, see everything that you can find and make that your mission. So because once you do that, I feel like you know him, but you know him.
Honestly, Ayesha, you know what's crazy? When he passed away, there was apparently there was a building in Dhaka, that's where he's from. They literally put like a whole poster of his face.
Really?
So like the whole like district could see him. Like the fact to pay respect, the fact he's passed. And I'm thinking, what a man to have walked this earth.
Yeah.
The fact that like
he's really made an impact. The fact that they made a whole poster.
Yeah.
Put it on a building. That's incredible.
And you know what?
That's celebrity level. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what happens to celebrities.
Like, but if you ever like, my dad had the ability to chat to any person there was, like literally, whether you were like our age, whether you were a 4-year-old, whether you were a 6-year-old, he was able to make someone laugh. He was able to make someone smile. Yeah. And I think they're the two most priceless things you can ever do for somebody in this world.
Yeah. I think the one thing I genuinely wish is I just had like a casual conversation with him.
Bro, my dad would made you laugh within 5 minutes.
The convo would have popped off. He would have come on the pod. Much. Literally. I just know that he would have held such a good convo. So yeah, but you know what? Inshallah khair, you know, we all reunite with your baba. Like, I can't wait to meet him because I know inshallah I will meet him.
Yeah.
There will be a day where I will meet him and it'll be great. It will be great because then after you have your little catch up, I'll introduce myself and then we'll all have a little like debrief of what actually happened, you know?
We'll have when he left. No,
but do you ever feel like maybe inshallah Umar Sulaiman will actually
I really hope
cover this topic, but I wonder if they know actually what's going on right now.
See, that's the thing.
Like,
I really wonder whether he can see everything.
Yeah,
I really wonder what are the angels telling him right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
About what's happening in his life. Like, I always think to myself, like, because the way his cancer was as well, right? Like, genuinely till the day he passed, like we were very blessed to be all around him. Literally the hours before he passed away at home. He really, like, they say that he was, I can't remember the term now, but it's the idea where you're in between consciousness and unconsciousness to like the world after you. I can't remember the term, it's really annoying me. But essentially, it meant that he was almost unconscious for the last couple hours he was alive. So he actually wasn't alert. Like you could, like, even we had an imam that came around that day by luck as well, literally by luck.
Okay.
And literally he was saying to me, he was like, by the sakawat, that's what it's called. So the Prophet was in it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well before he passed. It's almost like a form of unconsciousness where, like, a lot of times, you know, when if you see someone who's about to pass away, they're not talking, they're kind of in a coma kind of state, if you know what I mean. So my dad was in that state, and he was like, your dad's in sakawat right now, which is basically like his life is kind of flashing before his eyes. Like he's already going towards the next life, like he's not going to come back after this, kind of thing. Like he's already in that transition phase, basically. And like we actually had the blessing because he spoke to us about it. Like he spoke to us about how, like, you know, when your dad passes away, it will start on the left side of the body, and then it will slowly come, and then he'll take 3 breaths, and then he'll finish. Like that will be his soul leaving the dunya, right? And like I actually saw it happen. It was very, very surreal. Like I feel like anyone who's ever experienced death, or like not death themselves, but like death in the family, and if you've actually seen a close one actually pass away right in front of you, it is such a surreal feeling because you're literally seeing someone's body.
That's very
like
eye-opening.
Yeah, literally.
In life, genuinely.
Yeah, because you know that's what makes people alive, their souls. That's what literally makes them alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, all the kind of Islamic reminders and teachings, like even the way, like, we had a doctor who was able to quickly sign off the death certificate very quickly, because my dad actually said a week ago, we finally convinced him not to resuscitate, because they were just saying if your dad goes into like a cardiac arrest or anything, he's not going to survive. His rib cage will break. Like he's so weak. And my dad at first, he was like, no, like I want to be resuscitated. I want to live for my kids. I have so much to live for. Do you know what I mean? I'm not giving up. That's what he was mentality. It was never like he didn't accept Allah's plan. It was just that he never wanted to give up on life. He was a fighter. Do you know what I mean? He fought to his very last breath, right? But eventually the doctor literally, he was a family friend of ours. A grown man went on his knees and he said to my dad, he looked at my dad, he kissed his hand and he was like, please, like, you're not going to survive if you resuscitate. And my dad was like, okay, fine. A week later, he didn't get resuscitated. The doctor came straight away, signed his death. He got literally buried in 12 hours, bro.
You're meant to bury immediately.
Straight away. Do you know what I mean? Some people have to wait 2 days. Some people wait even a week if they get, like, they pass away in hospital. Like, he got literally in 12 hours. He had his ghusl literally after Maghrib. Who has a ghusl open after Maghrib? He had that, and he was buried by Zuhr time the next day, and he passed away just between Asr and Maghrib. So he passed away around about like 5 p.m. He was buried by 1 p.m. the next day.
You know, this unconsciousness when they're in that,
Sakawat, yeah.
They can't hear you. Like,
yeah, they're it's almost like they're in a state of like they're literally they're like in a coma state. So at that point,
how long was it?
Everyone's different, but my dad, he was for a couple hours. So we were all around him, and it was so funny because literally, because you know I said that there's 3 breaths that the soul takes, right? The first breath, imagine, literally we're all around him, my mum, my sister-in-law, my brother, and then literally my mum was like, I think she just went out for literally a split second just to say salam to the people in our kitchen, because our house was filled with people at that point, you know. People had come in the morning and come back again, you know, because they realized that he's getting really unwell, right? And then my sister literally just went to the bathroom to wash her eyes. My brother and my sister-in-law just went for the door. My dad took his first breath. And like, it was crazy because I was the only one there with him. And it wasn't even like I knew it was coming. If I had known, I probably would have said something to him, but I was just reading my tasbih, right? And looking down. And then I heard him gasp. And then the imam, he literally jumped up and he was like, Inna lillahi wa raji'un. And I was like, what do you mean? And then literally, then everyone else came in, and then he had the other 2 breaths. Oh,
sorry.
No, sorry, but like he had like the other 2 breaths, and then he was gone.
Thank you.
And it's like it was almost like hours never even passed, you know. But that's what I'm saying. Like, he had such a blessed ending where it's like, it was seamless. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in, like, he wasn't struggling. Like, and you know what? It wasn't even like a heavy breath. Like, they say a lot of meanings in the Quran about like how like sometimes when it's almost like when it's a bad soul, it's almost painful. It's like, I think it's thorns from a rose or something. It wasn't like that. It was like water. Like, it was the most gentle breaths he ever took. Like, it's almost like he was just exhaling. So it never felt like as if he was in pain when he was taking his last breath. It was almost just like a very gentle sigh. Like, he's done his job now.
Yeah, that was like my grandma when she passed. Because we went in Pakistan, we were on FaceTime to her. I wasn't there, which is so annoying. I wish I was awake, but I was sleeping and my sister was there. But she said that her breasts were very like smooth. They weren't like aggressive.
They weren't aggressive.
Which is actually, and it's so like, it really does motivate you to kind of like just fix up, basically.
Yeah. Because you don't know when you're going to pass. Imagine you pass in the state of sin. Imagine you pass, in the car or like in an accident or calamity.
Exactly.
You don't have a time to just like even think like, oh my God, like I'm about to return to the greater. Like, and you know, and then he had a tear in his eye, and I think it's because like obviously his life was flashing before his eyes. He had tears running, but it was like, again, like he didn't wince or like his eye, like his face wasn't in pain at all. Like he, like I said, he was smiling. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he was the best soul I've ever met in my life. And still 3 years on, I've never met someone as good as my dad. Like, not even like I'm telling you, like, I'm stripping away from who he was as my dad. Like, like, even if he wasn't my dad, I would look at him and still pray for him. I'd be like, I can't believe that man existed in this world. You know?
Yeah. You know, when you spoke about like your life flashing.
Yeah.
Like, is there has a scholar like basically confirmed
that's
what it is?
I can't remember what the term is, but it's the idea that a soul will cry. Like, usual souls do cry just before they pass because again, it's the idea like the angel is showing their life. The soul is not aware at that point.
Yeah.
They see the angel of death, they're not aware, but then they'll start getting almost like, it's almost like a flashback of your entire life. Literally, you see it before your eyes. So like from the moment you're born to literally present day, no one knows what that looks like other than the soul itself. No one's ever come back, but that is how it feels. And it's crazy because it's like, damn, like, and then at that point, remember, like, until the day when you get the janazah. So my brother actually led the janazah salah the next day, and like he was the last person to leave. And you know, they say the final footsteps, that's when the grave, like when the soul
can hear the footsteps.
Yeah, the soul hears the footsteps. They're calling out. They're calling out for you to help them, and you can't help them. Yeah, you know, and that's when they feel that scared, that fear. But then, obviously, inshallah, I just pray that the good angels were there.
Yeah, no, his grave is 1,000,000% widened because obviously,
he had cancer, and he had a stomach illness, and you know, inshallah, he's a martyr. So
he suffered a lot in this dunya. So inshallah, like, his grave's widened, it's bright, it's light, and he's only surrounded by good angels. And I really hope that in this Ramadan series, we actually learn, like, if they are aware. I'm so curious.
Way I'm gonna be like I'm gonna be like, no one talked to me. Omar Sulaiman had just uploaded.
Yeah.
I need to study it.
But just imagine if I'm gonna make to confirm that, like, okay, if they are aware. Do you know how reassuring that is for you? Because that way, it's not like your Baba doesn't know what you're doing. He does know what you're doing. He's aware of the healthy state. He's aware of the pod. He's aware of your friends.
You know what's
crazy? He's aware of me. Like, oh, okay.
I love how you know. You were
like, literally, I'm his biggest fan, bro.
No, but you know what? I love that. That's what I'm saying. I do love people for the sake of loving my father as well. Yeah. That is how pure the love is. Like, you know, even sometimes I think to myself, even though my dad never found out or never met the person who I'm going to marry in any remote form, unfortunately, I genuinely feel like, inshallah, like, I do have this faith that whoever I end up with, that he's actually going to be my Baba's dua. So like, inshallah, better come correct. Do you know what I mean? And if he doesn't, you're not my dad's dua. So exactly, move on.
Exactly. Do you feel like the process of speaking to your inshallah future partner about your Baba, do you think it will be a difficult one? Or do you
I've really struggled with relationships, man. I've really struggled. I feel like in this day and age, like, it's hard for men unless they literally love the ground you walk on. Sometimes, like, they're not gonna be very, very aware or concerned with like who your dad was, because they never met him. Like, I'm so sad that I'll never see the day where my future father-in-law shakes my dad's hand or talks about, you know, the arrangements or
Yeah.
like I'm so sad that my husband will never watch a game with my dad, or like, or even be shook to shake.
Was
his
he into
hand for the
football,
first time.
cricket?
My dad loved every sport,
Is
but
it?
like he was a football guy. Sometimes he'd go matches himself, you know.
What team?
He was a Newcastle fan.
I swear your sister supports Arsenal though.
Yeah. He was a Newcastle guy, but he knew everything about football, innit? Like I said, he would literally pick up customers and talk about football.
He
was such
passionate guy about
he was a
football.
passionate baller.
No one was allowed to talk to him during game, right?
100%.
Yeah.
And you know what? And every time, like, I always think about my brother. I'm like, whenever he's a dad one day, inshallah, like, he's going to have to do fatherhood without his dad. And I think it's really sad. Like, because my brother used to always get calls from my dad every single football game. Every single football game, my dad will call him. Match of the day, my dad will call him. Literally, everything about football, my dad will call him. And, like, again, it's a shame. It's a massive shame. But I genuinely always think to myself, like, I just hope I end up with someone who at least respects.
Yeah. And obviously respects everything. But, mate, if that was not the case, then that ain't the man for nobody. Do you know what I mean? Like, that, so inshallah, the person that comes will be.
This is what I'm saying. You know, right people always say in those videos as well, like, to they thank the person they're with because they've healed a thing that they never had the pain from. Like, you know, when they say like, oh, like my future partner has healed me from my previous traumas. I realized for me, it's not actually men that's traumatized me. It's the grief. And I always hope that I'll end up with someone who at least doesn't remove my grief, but inshallah makes my days feel a little bit more easier.
Yeah.
You know?
The final thing I want to ask you is that the grief that you've gone through now, do you think it's mentally prepared you for coming griefs?
Yeah.
Because like you said,
no, seriously,
and like I said,
no, honestly, because my grandma passed away 10 months after my dad, and she passed on my birthday as well. And I know we don't celebrate birthdays, but like I turned 25, and I literally was like, this year it was the first year I lost my dad. It's the most, like, there's nothing good coming, and now Nanu's passed away as well. But I literally was, even though it was very PTSD, by the way, like she died and she got buried the same place my dad got buried, literally like almost like only like in a diagonal from where my dad is buried, like in the same place.
Where's your dad buried? Is he
Gardens
buried
of Peace. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I drove past Gardens of Peace.
It's stunning. I don't know if you've ever gone to there's two, there's Hainault and there's Five Oaks. So he's in the new one in Five Oaks.
Oh, so not the Hainault one?
No, the Hainault one is now mainly children, I believe. Okay. But and souls that have probably passed like near 2012, that kind of vibe. But Five Oaks is the new one, and he's near the front. He's on the first couple of rows where the cars are, and like my grandma was like buried very like in diagonal to him. But it's very strange because it's not even like the fact that I didn't have a good relationship with my grandma. Of course I did, but it's almost like no other pain, Ayesha, I can't explain it. No other pain will ever test me or make me crumble now because I've gone through that grief. Yeah. Like, I honestly feel like I can deal with anything now, pain-wise, because I've lost my dad. Yeah. Like, nothing will ever be more painful, you know?
Of course. That's completely understandable.
You know?
I don't know if Islamic, I need to research about this as well, about females going to graveyards.
Yeah. To be fair, there's mixed opinions. I feel like as long as you don't wail, I think as long as you're not on your period as well, and you're not in like a state where you might be like wailing or sobbing hysterically, I think you are able to go.
Do you visit your Baba?
I do.
How often do you visit him?
You know what? I haven't visited him in a while, to be honest. But during Ramadan time and Eid time, obviously we do quite a lot.
I'd love to visit your
my
Baba.
birthday. You should.
I want to come with you.
Yeah, you should. You know where your friends live? They literally live like 5 minutes away from him. Okay. It's so close.
Well, next time you go, please let me know. Yeah. I want to come.
That's really lovely.
I want to give salam. I want to meet him. And I want to have because they can hear you in the grave.
Yeah, the angels say salam when they come.
So really I love to give my salam.
You know, it's so funny as well because like, again, another, I say so beautiful, but like I know in Ramadan there'll be so many people at the graveyards because it's almost like they're also doing their Ramadan with the people that are no longer with them, but they would, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's how I feel about my dad. Like, I know there's gonna be days in Ramadan where I'm just gonna go to see him because
he's not far from you, I'm pretty sure.
He's not. So, he's not far.
Alhamdulillah, which is good. Like I think, my parents are so annoying, man, when they say this, like, oh, I want to pass. Then they make those kind of comments.
They always do.
But I remember my dad saying like, oh, I'd love to like be buried in Pakistan, and I was like, no, you're not, because I want to visit you.
Yeah, and also you should always be. I think this thing is like, I know it's a very ethnic thing, but you should Islamically be buried where you've passed.
Exactly. Yeah, so I was like, you're not doing that, because then at the end of the day, like with you being able to visit your Baba there, like obviously when I know there will be a time where I will lose someone. Like I want to have that ability to be able to see my parents as well. So
that's one other thing. Like,
unless Allah takes me before, you know,
honestly,
you never know.
My dad,
you never know.
So my mum's dad actually died 3 months after she gave birth to my brother. So only a year after she got married, my mum's dad passed away. So my granddad.
Oh wow.
My dad, for over 15 years, he's taken my brother every Sunday to clean his father-in-law's grave.
Really?
Even though he only knew my granddad for a year, he used to every single Sunday. He took my brother. That's the only reason why my brother knows how to clean graves.
Wow.
Literally because my dad did that as a form of love for my mum.
What is it? The case? Is it the replacing soil? Is it?
Yeah, like cleaning, like, you know, so there's any like weed near the thing, or like, and to obviously give salam every Sunday without ever a shadow, whether it was raining, whether it was sunny, he would take my brother every single Sunday just to literally see his granddad, know his legacy, know how to clean a graveyard. That's how when my brother went to Birmingham and he went to a new city, he was like, why is this graveyard so dirty? And he showed all the men in the community how to clean.
That's really good.
And that's because my dad taught him. And now he's a whole different city teaching all these men. Do you see how crazy like life can be?
See,
like
your
that?
brother's carrying your Baba's legacy.
And that was the way he could also honour his father-in-law, even though he only knew his father-in-law for a year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know?
I can't believe he did that. That's incredible.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
And I mean, it's a way to kind of, let's just say, open your eyes to just realising where you're going to be. Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah. And my brother knew that from young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really just hope that whoever is grieving this Ramadan, you really are not alone. Like, I know this episode must have been really heavy and probably really long, which I do apologise for. But I guess it's because I felt like the episode before, it showed a lot of what my dad meant to me, but I don't think it gave credit enough to who he was as a person.
I'm glad you were able to speak more. But just know that, like, this podcast isn't a safe space for other people. It's a safe space for you. So you talk about Baba as much as you want to talk about him. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if you wanted to do 10 gazillion more episodes about grief, we'll do it. It's your pod. Do you know what I mean? You can talk about whatever you want. So just know that that's fine. And like, you know, it's an eye-opener, it's a lesson, and it's a way for the girls watching that are experiencing the same thing or going through it currently. Like, you're not alone. Like,
Inshallah.
There are so many people that have gone or are going through the same thing. So you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay because Allah is by your side. And we're going to be making so much dua for you guys as well. Like, make a dua chain, make something, I don't know, just make it clear to us, like comment or whatever, DM us that you're going through it so we can make dua for you. We can add you guys to our list.
And please just keep us in your duas. And Baba, please.
Baba in your duas, us in your duas.
And everyone who's in the past as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean. Okay. Sorry, my hand's bare clammy now. Yeah, guys. We'll inshallah see you soon. Have a blessed Ramadan, a lovely, lovely Eid with all your family and friends. And we will speak to you guys very, very soon. Hopefully with a little debrief, and hopefully a little cheeky debrief on how your marathon went, because we'll probably be reconvening after that or just before it.
All right, guys. See you soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye.